Hello, this is Neil from iPaintGirls.com. We're going to continue on with the comics, the how to do comics, and this is the getting started still and workflow. So we talked about doing the thumbnail sketches and stuff, and we'll continue on with that. But there's a couple things that I forgot to mention that I wanted to mention. When you're looking at your written document that you have for your comic book, and you're thinking about how you're going to do these scenes, and you're going to represent them in panels. One of the hardest things to think about is you can see it in your mind, hopefully. You can see the scene in your mind, how it takes place, and you probably see it more like a movie. Well, obviously this isn't a movie, this is an animation. Pick out the key frames that tell the most, or that show the most. So that's what I recommend doing, is to, when you're trying to figure out what to draw on each panel, think about what would represent the most for the scene. So you see the whole visual thing in your head, the whole movie script in your head, and you can see the whole scene. Think about key shots that represent mostly what needs to be understood in order to understand the scene. And those are the shots that you want to draw. And so, I knew I saw the whole scene in my head, which was they're kicking back on a couch and sofa, and they're watching TV, or she's like playing with some holographic display, and she's either playing a video game or she's controlling this little thing here, which is actually a vacuum, but it's not clear it's a vacuum. It's like a futuristic hover vacuum, but it kind of looks like maybe she's controlling it. So whatever the reader wants to believe, that's fine. And so they're doing something, they're kicking back, having their everyday, nightly routine, and then there's like a banging on the door, and like, they get startled, and I see this whole movie in my head. Oh, they get startled, and then like, don't worry, it's gonna be okay, sis. And she gets up off the couch and she goes and answers the door. Now, obviously, I don't need to show her getting up off the couch, but I kind of do show it here. I kind of show like she's kind of in the motion of getting up. So, I didn't want to actually show one frame where they're kicking back, another frame where she's getting up, or a very small frame where she's getting up, and then where she's answering the door. No reason to do that. The reader's going to know if you kind of give a hint that she's getting up, or even if she was totally relaxed, and the next frame she's at the door, she had to get up and answer the door. Your brain fills in the rest. But I think it's better if you kind of lead it. So I kind of having her getting up a little bit here, and that kind of leads into the next frame that now she's up and she's at the door. So just kind of imagine like that. And the next thing I know, she's like, go hide, Jill, and then Robot comes in and busts the door down. Now, I could have actually had an extra frame to show he busts through the door. I could have like a diagonal frame of action showing him busting through the door, shards, in this case it's not shards, it's a steel door, have him busting through the door with the booms, like this, like the band, but it'd be boom, and maybe some, I don't know, dust or something, if you wanted to do something like that, make it more dramatic. But I figured there's no point in doing that, because I figured the reader would either see that either the door's on the ground, that either he just walked in or he knocked it down. But maybe I should put something in this frame, like boom, and some, marks like this to show that he did break the door in and knocked it down. Or I could do a slice frame. I'd have to restructure the frames to show that he breaks through, and then to show this one here. So you just got to think about the key things that will let the reader know what's going on, and also, what looks cool, because you're kind of being a cinematographer, but with individual frames. And then I decided here, boom, 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 quick dialogue exchange to lead it out. Right, so another thing that's important is to know your characters. That is, have character sketches done before you actually start doing the comic. Because if you don't really know what your character looks like, maybe they have a certain way they dress and stuff like that. You need to know all that ahead of time. That way, when you do begin to do your paneling, you can draw the characters very quickly because you already know what they look like. I recommend knowing what they look like from the front, the side, and the back. Right, so the next thing you do then, after you kind of start doing out the perspective, at this stage, where we left off at, is I'm just drawing in like the perspective and everything, so I kind of know what everything's going to look like and that it's going to work for me. And then I would think about her shoulder here. I know her arm's going to be coming out like that because she's going to be kind of, leaning up, her neck, her head. And she's going to be kind of looking like this. So once you have the perspective down, you know that the perspective is going to work. Notice with this one, I'd have, if I wanted to put the vacuum anywhere, I'd have to put it like here, because I used that. I had to redo this a little differently because I don't have as much room on the standard page size as I did with the 12, the screen size for 360. And I can kind of draw that window back there. You can't really see much of it, but might as well just indication of it. Once you have this perspective down, then you could get rid of the other layer and then turn this layer down, and now you go in and actually start sketching your characters and stuff. At this stage, this is when you actually come in and you're actually doing the what's going on here? Oh, duh, I'm still on that layer. So at this stage here, this is when you actually come in and you're going to start doing the drawing itself. Not the pin part. It's still kind of rough sketch, but you're going to ink over this. So you want to make this as nice as possible. And so I would, at the previous stage, I probably want to spend more time doing this more clearly, for I can really see what it is that I'm doing. But nonetheless, I can see it enough that I can start to. I know that on this arm is her left arm. It's important to remember what arm wears what things. And so she would have her glove thing on that arm. And so you come in and you just start kind of sketching and blocking in. Maybe her other shoulder would kind of be visible there, and then some of her back would be coming down like that. I know some of her shirt. And so you just got to slowly start working your sketches and work in these stages. And once you have everything sketched out the way you want it, then you go and erase, make your I don't need to teach that part. Everyone has their own method of building up but you want to have the perspective down. You need to know, hey, my perspective works, everything's where it needs to be before you start doing your actual sketching. Because then, if not, what you'll end up doing is you start sketching, oh man, I totally messed up perspective. All it would have taken is an extra 2 minutes really quickly to lay out a thumbnail with proper perspective. That way when you started doing the actual sketch, it all fits in correctly. So you don't want to skip that second stage. It isn't, the perspective stage is important. And then go in and do the final sketch. After you have the final sketch done, then you can go into your favorite inking program. I don't recommend inking with Photoshop. It just doesn't ink very well. If you don't like something like Illustrator, try Manga Studio, try program Sai, try Flash, try Coral Painter X. Anything but Photoshop to do your inking. Just trust me on that. Photoshop really sucks for inking. Right, then once you have your sketch all done and you're do all the inking and everything, a lot of this is all going to be colored, so I don't need it to be inked. Then you could do your border size, and you would actually do this on your border layer. So I'd make another layer underneath the bubbles and actually call that border, if I remember where that's at. Edit, stroke, and I'm going to do by 3. View actual pixels. I'd have to move that over now. Fit the screen. And since remember I have bubbles on one screen, this is really easy for me to move over. I just grab my marquee tool, then grab just that. Okay, I'm on the wrong layer. Then grab just this. I want it to be right about there, like so. Then I can grab my text layer and pull it where I need it to be. Okay, so now you can see everything is where it needs to be. And voila. At this point here, I can probably zoom in just a bit more. At this point here, then I can start doing the coloring. Now, a lot of the tricks that I show on my other series, the Lara Croft series, with the coloring and stuff, a lot of that is applicable, the little tips and tricks, but you need to be able to paint much quicker than that. So you're not trying to go for that kind of style. You're trying to go for quickness and speed. And so I'm going to show the quickness and speed style. But a lot of the principles are the same. That is, you want to keep your aligned lines layer in one layer. I usually don't name it. I just go to layer properties, and all my lines layers I just mark as gray. That way I know, hey, that's my line layer. And so if I don't know, sometimes I'll actually name them, but usually I won't. And so then you come in and do the quick coloring, and I'm about out of time, so I'll have to come back with another part. And just make sure that you lock the transparency guide for your lines layer if you want to color just the lines and change their color, which I usually do, but you don't have to do that. Right, so thank you for watching. Please comment. I love to see your comments. So, question of the day: what's your favorite comic? Put in the comments. Type in your favorite comic that we should all read, whether it's a graphic novel, whatever it is, a series. This is one we should read. One of mine, Sky Doll. Definitely must read. Oh, and another one of mine, definitely must read, is Y the Last Man. Very cool.